Okay, it's Nick back again one more time in a quiet moment in work, so I've got enough time to be able to talk to you for a little while. Now, I did promise to you that I would be using this channel to start talking about what I've been finding out about alternative health, because I have to live with alternative health practices. I am not a well person. I am a chronic fatigue sufferer. I always have been, really. And during the past few years, I guess from shortly after I finally ended up with like reliable broadband, I've been looking into different forms of alternative health methods. Why is that? Because I want to carry on improving my health. And it's rather funny how I, first came across the first one, which is quite predominant and quite popular, which is out there on the internet at the moment, and that was raw veganism. But how I came across that was because I was like basically flat and stony broke, and I was eating a lot of popcorn because that's a good way of filling you up, air popcorn. And I was just wondering whether there were some crazy people who ate that stuff raw, so I typed in raw popcorn. And what I ended up with on my YouTube search was these videos about people who have made something which has the flavour of popcorn, but from cauliflower, which I think they'd marinated, then they'd added like nutritional yeast and a few other herbs and spices, and then put it through a dehydrator. So that was the first time I actually heard about using a dehydrator. And the first time I'd actually heard about people who ate just raw fruits, vegetables, nuts and seeds. And I realised this is like quite a big thing. But it's also proven to me as I've looked into this more and more and more that there is like the problem of dogmatism. Now there's dogmatic people in religious groups, there's dogmatic people in political groups, but there's also a lot of dogmatic people when it comes to health and healing paradigms, because there's other ones which don't include raw food, but which also claim to have like the same quality of effects, such as like the Gerson therapy, which uses the loss of cooked food, including cooked porridge, in the morning, and 16 juices taken throughout the day, which would cost you an absolute bomb, as well as like a cooked soup and a few other forms of cooked, vegetable-based products, which is all rather interesting. But they're all organic, and there's other aspects to these like cleansing procedures as well, which I suppose I could go into in other videos as well. But they all rely upon pretty much every major health protocol that I've seen relies upon removing something from the body. Okay, toxicity or chemical toxicity which is accumulated during your life, things in the digestive tract, forms of bacteria or yeast or spores or anything, predominantly, as well as increasing the nutritional components within the body itself to try and bring the body back to a more natural state. But now they're not all like that, but that is like the main thrust of it all. Most forms of alternative healing seem to rely upon food used in a certain way. There are others which rely upon the muscles, exercise, stretching, taking into account posture, which is obviously something that I really need to work on, and also bioelectrics, which is where devices are used to put either a current or a frequency into the body for the purposes of creating some change. Now, I've had some experiences through my experimentation which have proven to me a few things. Number one, and this is just my point of view, so don't see this as being like some kind of gospel and don't you dare get dogmatic with what I'm telling you, okay? Number one, okay, alternative health is essentially a way of being healthy, and it's all about instructing you in a different way of life which could have an impact upon your general well-being, or indeed in tackling a particular specific health problem. Number two, some of the things which is said in the alternative health world which are denied by doctors in my country are true, and I will try and go into that and it's going to take a bit of bravery for me to go into, really, because like it's when things get a bit complicated and a bit icky and disgusting, because I'm talking about the human body and things in the human body, and it's just like, oh my god, it's just like quite disgusting stuff. Point number three, the bioelectric side of things is not a complete fiction. Now I'm still trying to work out in what ways the bioelectric stuff can be useful for human health in general, taking into account the experiences that I've had, some of which have been like over the top. Okay, we're talking like very, very weird, very, very icky, disgusting, but also very informative. Alright, personal experiences associated with using bioelectrics as a means of treating or affecting the human body in one way or another, and which is much more advanced than some ways that I previously heard of. So I thought that was really rather interesting. And then one thing that I've become aware of is that all of the various different health and healing protocols which are out there, which rely upon food, interpret the food in different ways and use them in different ways, because they focus on some particular key benefits of different food products. For instance, in one particular protocol, cucumber juice is used extensively when you're not taking any other food into your body. I really wouldn't want to put cucumber juice into my body if I'm like eating a regular diet. I just don't think it would be a good idea at all. But if you're like doing like extensive fasting, then cucumber juice is used in a particular way for a particular reason. But if you're not doing that, then essentially the idea is to go for more nutrition. So therefore something softer like carrot juice and apple juice would also be used, as well as like going towards green leafy vegetables, again juiced in a different way. They all have very different techniques for the preparation of food. They all have different techniques for the preparation of the body. And it's just really rather fascinating that there are these interpretations out there. Then there's another point of view which would rely much more upon pharmaceuticals or nutritional supplementation. And using nutritional supplementation can again yield some pretty astounding and very obvious results as well. And that will also take a bit of bravery for me to go into in greater detail, but like there's something interesting going on there which I really think people need to kind of like be aware of. And then the other aspect is that of herbs and herbal medication, and I do at some point want to do a proper online course about herbal medication itself, because there's dimensions to it which are complex and nuanced, and there's dimensions to it which are like less complex and nuanced. Basically, just it's difficult to describe. But again, it's a question of the attitude which people take to the various treatments and to the various different ways in which the treatments are used, which is what really makes I suppose the entire theology, the entire ideology of what that particular program is about, to be of that particular thing. Interpretation is key. It really is key, but it can also like stop people from thinking. I mean, there was one time in which I dated someone who was like quite heavily interested in alternative health, and that was great. We had a wonderful time talking about this, that, and the other. But if I like deviated away from what she was thinking, then all of a sudden I became some kind of like blasphemous pariah or something. It was crazy. Because I think we've always got to be like asking questions and adding extra bits into the way in which we live, so that we can just improve our health in general. I'm working on a particular protocol at the moment, and I'm investigating that, and I'll go into a whole video about that in not too distant future. But this is like a rambly reintroduction about like where my head is at when it comes to using alternative health methods, which is what I want a chunk of this channel to start being more about. Okay? So I'll leave it at that for now. Bye for now.